Cyberpunk 2077 is launching for Mac on July 17. Cyberpunk 2077 is finally arriving on macOS this Monday, July 17, much sooner than its initially projected 2025 release. The Ultimate Edition will be available across major digital storefronts, including the Mac App Store, Steam, Epic Games Store, and GOG.com. CD Projekt Red has tailored the game for various Apple Silicon chips, from the M1 to the latest M4, but requires at least 16 GB of unified memory for compatibility. High-end Macs will benefit from features like path tracing, delivering enhanced visuals, while AMD's FSR technology will boost performance and smoothness, even with demanding graphical settings enabled. The game also supports Metal FX upscaling, Apple's Magic Mouse and trackpad, and HDR displays. This official release leverages Apple Silicon's architecture and Metal APIs for optimal performance, unlike previous compatibility solutions. It also includes the recently released 2.3 patch, adding new content like cars and photo mode enhancements. Cyberpunk 2077's Mac launch bundles the Phantom Liberty expansion and all previous updates, offering cross-progression across all platforms and even incorporating spatial audio and head tracking for AirPods users.
In our next story, stock market today, live updates. The S&P 500 edged up 0.2% Tuesday, driven by a surge in Nvidia shares following news of a potential resumption of GPU sales to China. This positive movement comes despite June's inflation numbers showing a slight increase from May, reaching 2.7% annually, matching forecasts but still representing a rise in inflationary pressure. Experts warn that the full impact of tariffs on inflation is yet to be seen, potentially leading to further price increases in the future. While the broader market saw a positive trend, mixed results emerged from major financial institutions' earnings reports. Wells Fargo, despite exceeding earnings expectations, saw its stock decline due to reduced net interest income guidance. JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup showed varied performance, with one underperforming despite strong second-quarter results, and the other exceeding expectations and gaining ground. The overall market's upward trajectory is fueled by anticipation surrounding the ongoing second-quarter earnings season. However, growth expectations remain relatively low, with the S&P 500 projected to report its weakest year-over-year earnings growth since the fourth quarter of 2023. This comes despite a generally positive market sentiment following Monday's session, which defied President Trump's threat of new tariffs. The interplay between positive corporate news, concerns about inflation and upcoming earnings reports created a day of modest gains for the market, illustrating the complex factors currently shaping the stock market's performance.
In our next story, inflation surged in June as Trump's tariffs took hold. Consumer prices climbed 2.7% in June compared to last year, a significant increase fueled partly by President Trump's tariffs. This matches economists' predictions and represents an acceleration from May's 2.4% inflation rate, though it remains below the 3% seen in January. Despite this rise, egg prices showed a notable decrease. President Trump, however, has repeatedly touted the economy's strength and claimed inflation is dead, even as inflation persists above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. Major retailers have warned that tariffs could lead to further price increases for consumers, passing on the tax burden. The Federal Reserve, while acknowledging the potential inflationary impact of tariffs, has maintained steady interest rates so far this year. They predict inflation will rise to 3% by 2025, a more pessimistic forecast than earlier projections. This cautious approach from the Fed has drawn sharp criticism from President Trump, who has publicly pressured the central bank to lower interest rates. Despite market expectations favoring no change, the Federal Reserve's next meeting is scheduled for July 29th and 30th. The ultimate impact of tariffs on inflation remains uncertain, dependent on the fluctuating nature of the president's trade policies.
In our next story, CPI inflation report June 2025. Inflation edged up in June, reaching a 2.7% annual rate. This increase aligns with economists' predictions and marks the highest point since February, exceeding the Federal Reserve's 2% target. While the overall increase was modest, core inflation, excluding volatile food and energy, also rose, reaching 2.9% annually. Prior to June, inflation had been gradually decreasing throughout the year. The June figures present a mixed picture regarding the impact of President Trump's tariffs. While some tariff-sensitive goods, like apparel and household furnishings, saw price increases, others, such as vehicle prices, actually fell. The interplay between tariffs and inflation remains complex. Although June's data suggests tariffs may be influencing prices, the overall effect is still unclear and warrants further observation. The slight increase in inflation, however, raises concerns about its potential long-term trajectory.
In our next story, complete nominees list. The 2025 Emmy nominations are being announced in stages. Early nominations for reality competition and talk series were revealed this morning on CBS Mornings. Strong contenders in the reality competition category include The Traitors, RuPaul's Drag Race, The Amazing Race, Survivor, and Top Chef. The talk series category, narrowed down to 3 nominees this year, features The Daily Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Further nominations in major categories will be announced later today via livestream. Harvey Guillen, Brenda Song, and Television Academy Chair Chris Abrego will be revealing the nominees from the Wolf Theater at the TV Academy's Saban Media Center. Viewers can watch the livestream on the Emmys website and the TV Academy's YouTube channel. The 77th Emmy Awards ceremony, hosted by Nate Bargatze, will air live on CBS on September 14th. The ceremony will also stream live and on demand on Paramount+. The majority of the Emmy Awards will be presented at the Creative Arts Emmy Awards on September 6th and 7th. Last year's Emmy winners included Hacks for Best Comedy Series, Shogun for Best Drama Series, and Baby Reindeer for Best Limited Series. The Bear set a new record for most wins in a single season for a comedy, with 11 awards.